Insider presented by AT&T. I'm your host, Brian Dunset. Today joined by Real Salt Lake General Manager Garth Lagerwey. Garth, thanks for joining us. Really a dream setup going to the final for you guys as far as the CONCACAF Champions League. You face an MLS team in the Columbus Crew in the first match. Saprissa, which is an incredible team at home, had some struggles on the road. Then you face Monterrey, and the first leg, you guys come out of it on a high. Bad side is you lose Kyle Beckerman for the final. Knowing that you're going into a match where all you need is a tie. That's it, a tie. How good did you guys feel about your chances, knowing that, like you said, you had the support of the entire country on your back, and you were playing at home at Rio Tinto, where you guys have historically been incredibly successful?
It's one of those, the analogy I'd use would be birth defects. Like you might have, your child might have a 1 in 10,000 chance of having some horrible, very rare disease. But at the end of the day, if it's your kid, the math doesn't matter to you. And, I think a lot of the statistics pointed toward we're home in the second leg, we've gotten 2 away goals, we have all the momentum, there's a lot of things for us, but we knew at the same time that it didn't matter, and none of that stuff mattered unless you got it done in the final, and you really went in the final figuring if you scored a goal you had it locked up, and we couldn't do it, and that was the disappointing part, and it's disappointing we didn't have Conf for that game. Had we not had an English-speaking referee in the first leg at Columbus, maybe he doesn't get the yellow card for dissent, and maybe that's not his second yellow card of the competition, but I think. Look, I also think that's something we got to learn from. When you're in a competition like that, you can't get yellow cards for dissent. It's neither here nor there. I mean, we played the game. We did the best we could. I think that Grabwood played admirably in Kyle's stead in that position, but we just couldn't. We couldn't get over the hump.
We've talked over the years about educating the fan base as far as what it really truly means to support your team. You guys have gone out of your way to bring huge teams to Salt Lake City to play not only Rice Cycles, but here at Rio Tinto Stadium. When you walked into the stadium that day and you saw this facility completely full, hour and a half before kickoff, gates were open, everyone was in their seats, everyone was ready. How did that make you feel as a general manager of this club?
I felt like we were relevant. That's the word our ownership uses. That's the word that the commissioner uses when describing, are you successful or not? Are you relevant in your market? And for that game on that day, at the end of that competition, we were relevant. And it's the same bittersweet feel. I mean, the answer to your question is when you walk out onto the field, into the building, into that atmosphere, it's like, okay, going back 15, 16 years, we're playing in the league, in front of half-empty 10,000-seat stadiums, or worse, half-empty, 10,000 people in an 80,000-seat stadium, and this is what we dreamed of. This is why we did this. This is why we're still involved, and the game is making progress, and the sport is making progress, and the fact that we went from Cruz Azul having a really cool atmosphere in that group game in October of 10, but having it be largely Hispanic supported and Cruz Azul supporters, to a almost completely pro RSL crowd for this game also showed me that our fan base got it, that we had made progress, and again, that we were relevant. And look, it's a once in a lifetime moment, and hopefully, maybe it's not once in a lifetime, but it's certainly a pretty rare thing, and it was really neat to be part of, and I just wish we could have delivered a title for our fans.
You guys have no time to really think about that. As soon as that game was over, you can't really have much of a hangover because you're back to Major League Soccer. A lot of people don't realize there were players really struggling mentally after that match, and Jason decided to leave a few home just to make sure that they could kind of figure out how to get themselves right. You have to go to Portland, play a Jeld Win in September. It's an incredible atmosphere as well. It must have been pretty hard for the players and the coaches and even yourself to take all that, harness it, and kind of put it to the side to get back to Major League Soccer, because a lot of people forget you guys were off to an incredibly hot start to the MLS season as well.
Yeah, I mean, and Portland's obviously not an easy place to play either. No, the analogy we used earlier I think holds. I mean, you played a Super Bowl, and 3 days after the Super Bowl, you got to go out and play, not even the Pro Bowl, but a real league game against a team that wants to beat you. And I think that was nearly impossible. And the league did so much to help us in moving games and accommodating our schedule and stuff like that. So I don't mean it as a criticism of anybody. It is what it is. But I think that was always going to be a very difficult game for us to win, the Portland game.